This is the woman who was buried as Jane Doe. In 2006, the police in Oklahoma found the body of a young woman. She had no ID and no one came forward to claim her, so they buried her as Jane Doe. Months later, a missing woman's family saw the news report and claimed the body was their daughter who had been missing for over a year. The police were unable to get in touch with them in time to stop the funeral, so they buried her again. But just weeks later, the missing woman walked into a police station alive. The body in the grave was a stranger, and all this time the real Jane Doe had been lying dead in a Texas hospital, unidentified and alone. I can't even imagine the pain that these two families are going through. The first one, because they had their daughter for a few precious months, got to plan a funeral and say goodbye, knowing that it wasn't really goodbye, but they thought it was. And then the other family who hadn't seen their daughter in over a year suddenly gets to be reunited with her. But at what cost? The trauma of losing a child, not knowing whether they were alive or dead, the endless searching, the phone calls, the knock on the door that never came, and then to find out that all this time they had been holding on to the wrong person's remains. It's just heartbreaking. The question is, who was that woman in the grave? Who was the real Jane Doe? And how did the police make this terrible mistake? Well, when the woman's body was found, she had no identification on her, and there were no obvious signs of how she died. The police put her fingerprints and DNA into a national database, but they didn't get any matches. They also put out a description of the woman, but nobody came forward to claim her. So after 5 months, they buried her. But just before they did, a medical examiner took a few pictures of her and made a digital copy of her fingerprints. A few months later, a missing persons case was opened for a woman who looked a lot like Jane Doe. The police sent her dental records and a photograph to the Oklahoma City Medical Examiner's office to see if there was a match. And guess what? There was. The dental records and the photographs were a match. The police were so sure that they even did an in-person identification. But that was when things got weird. The man who identified the body said that he was the father of the missing woman. He told the police that his daughter had gone missing a year ago and that her social security card and driver's license had the name of Jane Doe. But here's the thing. The man who identified the body was actually the brother of the missing woman. He was just going off of what she had told him when she disappeared. He never actually saw her. So now the police have exhumed the body and are trying to figure out who it really is. They're hoping that with new technology they'll be able to identify her and bring her loved ones some closure. But until then, she'll remain Jane Doe. If you know anything about this case, please contact the